Ladies and gentlemen, everybody loves the sound of victory. Everybody loves the applause, the trophies, the spotlight, the recognition. But what most people don't see is the price. Winning is not easy, and if it was, everybody would do it. Winning will demand more from you than comfort ever will. It will test you in ways you never thought possible. It will break you down, only to see if you've got the courage to build yourself back up again. When we talk about winning, people often imagine the glory, the applause, the headlines, and the trophies that come with success. They see the end result, the shining moment when someone stands at the top of the mountain, but what they rarely see is the climb, the long and grueling journey that person had to take to get there. And the truth is, there is no winning without sacrifice. You cannot carry every comfort, every distraction, every excuse, and still expect to run the race to victory. Something has to give. Success requires trade-offs, and those trade-offs are what separate the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the winners. Think about the great athletes who have inspired the world. Kobe Bryant wasn't just talented. Talent alone doesn't create a legend. He made himself legendary by the hours, the days, the years of sacrifice he was willing to endure. While most people were still asleep, he was already in the gym, drenched in sweat, practicing the same shot over and over until it became second nature. He gave up sleep, he gave up comfort, he gave up the easy road, because he knew that the only way to win was to discipline his body and his mind to do what most people weren't willing to do. He paid the price for success long before he ever heard the cheers of the crowd. And this principle doesn't just apply to sports. Take a look at students who graduate at the top of their class, doctors who spend a decade in training, or entrepreneurs who build companies from nothing. Each of them had to sacrifice something. They sacrificed time that could have been spent on entertainment, money that could have been spent on pleasures, and even relationships that weren't aligned with their vision. They made tough decisions, and those decisions often came with loneliness, with fatigue, and with moments of doubt. But that's the price you pay for greatness. One of the biggest lies people believe is that you can have it all at the same time. You can't. You cannot live in constant comfort and still expect to win in life. The road to success will demand that you give up some things in order to gain others. It will demand that you say no to some people so you can say yes to your future. It will demand that you turn off the television, put down the phone, walk away from the party, and invest in the work that no one else sees. Sacrifice isn't glamorous, but it is always necessary. There's a story of a young man who dreamed of becoming a professional musician. He loved music, but he also loved hanging out with friends, spending hours on social media, and living for the weekend. He practiced here and there, but not consistently. Then he met another musician who was his age, someone who was already traveling the world, already recognized for his talent. The young man asked, "How did you get here so fast?" And the other replied, "While you were out with friends, I was practicing. While you were scrolling, I was studying the masters. While you were sleeping in, I was rehearsing until my fingers bled." That's the difference. That's the sacrifice. The truth hit him. The gap between wanting and winning is filled with sacrifice. Even in everyday life, sacrifice is the key to progress. A parent who works 2 jobs to provide for their children is making a sacrifice. A student who chooses to study late at night instead of wasting time is making a sacrifice. A young professional who invests their weekends in learning new skills instead of going out is making a sacrifice. These sacrifices may not bring instant rewards, but over time, they stack up and separate those who merely wish for success from those who actually achieve it. Ask yourself right now, what are you willing to give up to win? Because that's the real question. Everybody wants success, but not everybody is willing to pay the price. Some people want the promotion, but they're not willing to stay late, to keep learning, to go the extra mile. Some people want the strong, healthy body, but they're not willing to sacrifice junk food, laziness, and excuses. Some people want financial freedom, but they're not willing to cut expenses, leave below their means, and work tirelessly for a vision bigger than themselves. Winning isn't about what you want. It's about what you're willing to give up to get it. And let me be real with you, it won't always feel good. Sacrifice often feels uncomfortable. It feels unfair. It feels like you're missing out. But in reality, you're not missing out. You're setting yourself up. You're choosing to delay gratification today so you can live with freedom tomorrow. The sacrifice may be painful in the moment, but the reward lasts a lifetime. That's the trade-off. That's the law of winning. When we talk about winning, we have to face a truth that many people don't want to hear. Pain is not optional. If you want to achieve anything worthwhile in life, pain is not something you can avoid. It's something you must endure. And I'm not talking about the kind of pain that destroys you. I'm talking about the kind of pain that grows you, the kind that molds you into a stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself. Because winning doesn't happen in comfort. Winning is born in the furnace of struggle, where your limits are tested and your character is forged. Look at the way the human body works. Growth happens under stress. You go into the gym and you push weights that your body isn't used to. At first it hurts, your muscles ache, you feel weak, you feel tired. But what's actually happening beneath the surface is that the fibers of your muscles are tearing just a little bit, breaking down under the weight. And when they repair, they don't just come back the same. They rebuild stronger, thicker, more capable than before. Without that pain, without that breakdown, there would be no growth. That's not just biology, that's life. Life will hand you weights you didn't expect. It will hand you circumstances that feel too heavy, challenges that seem unfair, setbacks that make you question if it's worth continuing. And in those moments, pain whispers that it's easier to give up. But winners don't give up. Winners lean into the pain, not because they enjoy it, but because they understand it's part of the process. They understand that each hardship is training, each obstacle is resistance, each failure is shaping them for the victory that's ahead. Think about Thomas Edison. Here was a man who failed not 10 times, not 100 times, but over 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. Imagine the pain of failing repeatedly, the discouragement, the frustration, the laughter of critics who probably told him to stop trying. Most people would have quit long before, but he didn't quit. He chose to see every failure as a lesson, every setback as part of the process. When asked about his countless failed attempts, Edison didn't describe them as failures. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's a man who understood that pain wasn't his enemy, pain was his teacher. And let's not just look at inventors or athletes, let's look at everyday people. A single mother working 2 jobs to raise her children knows what pain feels like. The exhaustion of long hours, the sacrifice of personal dreams, the moments of despair when bills outweigh income. That's pain. But in that pain, resilience is built. In that pain, character is strengthened. And in the end, when her children graduate, when they succeed, when they rise above the circumstances they were born into, that victory is born out of years of struggle and pain that shaped the foundation. We live in a culture that tells us to avoid discomfort at all costs. We want shortcuts, quick fixes, and overnight success. We want results without struggle, the crown without the cross. But that's not how life works. The truth is, anything worth having will come with moments of discomfort, of hardship, of sacrifice. That's the process. And when you run from pain, you run from growth. When you avoid the struggle, you avoid the strength that comes from surviving it. Look at the lives of people who inspire us the most. They didn't become who they are because life was easy. They became who they are because they went through storms, through valleys, through losses, through rejections, and they came out stronger on the other side. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison, 27 years of lost time, lost opportunities, lost freedom. That is unimaginable pain. But when he came out, he didn't come out broken. He came out stronger, wiser, ready to lead a nation into reconciliation. Without that process of pain, without those years of refining, he would not have had the character and the resilience to change history. So the next time you feel pain in your journey, whether it's the pain of rejection, the pain of failure, the pain of loneliness, or the pain of disappointment, don't despise it. Don't run from it. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a signal that you are in the process. You are being stretched, tested, refined, and strengthened for what lies ahead. Because the truth is, there is no winning without wounds. There is no strength without struggle. There is no crown without a cross. Pain is not a punishment, it's preparation. And the sooner you accept it as part of the journey, the sooner you will be able to embrace the process and push through to victory. Motivation is a powerful spark. It can light a fire in your heart, it can stir your emotions, and it can push you to start something new. But the truth is, motivation is not reliable. Motivation is like the wind. It changes direction, it rises and falls, and sometimes it doesn't show up at all. And if you build your life, your dreams, and your goals on motivation alone, you will stop the moment that fire goes out. That is why discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation can get you started, but only discipline will keep you going when you don't feel like moving forward. Think about how often people start with excitement. At the beginning of a new year, millions of people make resolutions. They are motivated to get in shape, motivated to save money, motivated to improve their lives. They buy new gym memberships, new workout clothes, new planners, and for the first few weeks, the energy is high. But by February, most gyms are half empty. By March, the new planners are collecting dust. Why? Not because those people didn't want change, not because they didn't have motivation at first, but because motivation faded and they didn't replace it with discipline. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears. Discipline says, I don't feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. Discipline says, I'm tired, but I'll show up. Discipline says, this isn't exciting right now, but it's necessary for where I'm going. It's discipline that transforms a dreamer into a doer. It's discipline that separates those who wish from those who win. Look at professional athletes. Do you think they're motivated every day? Of course not. No one wakes up excited 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But discipline forces them to train when the excitement is gone. Kobe Bryant once said that he trained not because he was always motivated, but because discipline had become his lifestyle. He didn't wait for feelings to decide whether he would show up. His habits, his commitment, and his discipline carried him, and that is what made him great. The same applies to every area of life. A student preparing for an exam cannot rely on motivation alone, because there will be days when the material is boring, when the brain feels tired, when friends are out having fun and the temptation to join them is strong. Motivation might help once or twice, but only discipline, the habit of consistent study, will bring the reward of success. A parent raising children doesn't wake up every day motivated to sacrifice, provide, teach, and nurture. It's discipline, fueled by love and responsibility, that keeps them steady even on the hardest days. A worker trying to climb the career ladder cannot rely on bursts of energy alone. It's discipline that makes them consistent, dependable, and prepared for opportunities when they arrive. If we're honest, most of us love the idea of motivation because it feels good. Motivation is emotional, it's exciting, it's inspiring. But discipline is often boring. Discipline looks like routine, structure, consistency, and sacrifice. Discipline is waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. Discipline is saying nah to distractions when you'd rather indulge. Discipline is doing the right thing over and over until it becomes second nature. And while motivation creates moments of progress, discipline creates a lifestyle of progress. Think about soldiers. They don't train only when they feel like it. They don't prepare for battle based on emotion. They train every day, whether it's hot, cold, raining, or exhausting, because discipline is their foundation. That is why, when the battle comes, they are ready. They don't have to rely on a fleeting feeling. They have habits that keep them sharp and prepared. There's a saying that goes, discipline equals freedom. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's the truth. When you are disciplined, you gain the freedom to live the life you desire. Discipline in your finances gives you freedom from debt. Discipline in your health gives you freedom from sickness. Discipline in your work gives you freedom in your career. Motivation may give you a push, but discipline gives you results. So the next time you find yourself waiting for motivation, remember that winners don't wait to feel inspired before they act. Winners act because their commitment is bigger than their feelings. Winners build habits that carry them through the days when they don't feel like moving. Motivation will start your journey, but discipline is what will take you to the finish line. One of the biggest misconceptions about winning is that winners never fail. People look at successful athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, or artists, and they assume that those individuals had some magic formula, some special talent, or some streak of luck that kept them from stumbling. But the truth is the exact opposite. Winners are not people who avoided failure. Winners are people who learned to use failure as their teacher. Failure is not the end of the road, it is part of the road. Every setback, every disappointment, every wrong turn, and every closed door carries with it a lesson, a hidden seed of growth that, if embraced, becomes the very foundation of success. Take the example of Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players in history. His highlight reels are filled with dunks, buzzer beaters, and championship victories, But what many people forget is that he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He lost nearly 300 games, and on the 26 occasions he was trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. By all accounts, those are failures. But when asked about it, Jordan explained that it was precisely those failures that made him succeed. He failed, but he failed forward. He didn't treat mistakes as a dead end. He treated them as a classroom. And in that classroom, he learned resilience, perseverance, and the ability to rise again stronger than before. History is filled with people who turned failure into fuel. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Imagine the frustration of trying and trying again only to face disappointment. Many people in his shoes would have given up after a handful of failures, convinced that they weren't cut out for success. But Edison didn't see failure as a reason to quit. He saw it as information. Every failed attempt wasn't wasted. It revealed what didn't work, and with each attempt, he got closer to what would. That's the mindset of a winner. Failure is feedback, not finality. Even in our own lives, failure can be one of our greatest teachers if we allow it. Think about the times you've fallen short. Maybe you didn't pass an exam. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion. Maybe a relationship you valued came to an end. In the moment, failure feels heavy, it feels painful, and it feels permanent. But when you look back, you often realize that those failures taught you more than your victories ever could. They taught you discipline, they taught you patience, they taught you the importance of preparation, or they revealed areas you needed to grow. Some failures even redirect you to something better. Many people who thought they failed in one path discovered a different passion, a different career, or a different relationship that turned out to be far more fulfilling than what they first wanted. We live in a culture that treats failure as something shameful, something to hide, something to avoid at all costs. But if you study the lives of every great achiever, you will see that failure is woven into their journey like threads in a tapestry. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because he supposedly lacked creativity. Steven Spielberg was rejected multiple times by film schools before he became one of the greatest directors of all time. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television before becoming one of the most influential figures in media. These are not stories of people who avoided failure. These are stories of people who embraced failure as part of their training ground. The key is perspective. When you fail, you have two choices. You can let failure define you, convince you that you are not capable, and stop you from trying again. Or you can let failure refine you, sharpen your focus, and teach you lessons that will carry you forward. Winners choose the second path. They are not blind to the pain of failure, but they refuse to let it break them. Instead, they squeeze the lesson out of every mistake and use it as a stepping stone toward success. Failure is never easy, but it is always valuable. It teaches humility because it reminds us that we don't know everything. It teaches perseverance because it forces us to try again. It teaches creativity because it pushes us to find new approaches. And it teaches courage because it proves that even when we stumble, we can stand again. The people who win in life are not those who never fall. They are those who see failure for what it truly is, a teacher that equips them for greater victories ahead. Resilience is the quiet strength that separates those who give up from those who rise again. It is the ability to stand back up after life knocks you down, to keep moving forward when everything in you wants to quit, to believe in tomorrow even when today feels unbearable. Winning is not about never falling. Winning is about how many times you get back up after you've been pushed to the ground. Life will test you with storms, with disappointments, with losses you didn't see coming. And in those moments, the difference between a quitter and a winner is resilience. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has a story of resilience. Take Nelson Mandela, for example. He spent 27 years in prison, 27 years robbed of his freedom, 27 years of isolation, hardship, and pain. Most people would have come out broken, angry, or defeated. But Mandela came out stronger. He came out with forgiveness in his heart, with courage in his spirit, and with a vision for his nation that would change history. His resilience turned what could have been a life of bitterness into a legacy of hope and leadership. That is the power of refusing to let circumstances define you. Resilience is not about ignoring pain. It's not about pretending the struggles don't hurt or pretending everything is fine. Resilience is about acknowledging the pain, but deciding that the pain will not have the final word. It's about saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, I've been knocked down. Yes, I feel tired. But no, I will not stop here. Resilient people understand that pain is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They understand that scars may stay, but scars are proof that you survived, not that you were defeated. Think about a rubber ball. The harder you slam it to the ground, the higher it bounces back. That's resilience. Life will slam you down with rejection, with failure, with betrayal, with moments when everything seems to collapse at once. But resilience allows you to bounce back even stronger. The question is not whether life will hit you hard. The question is how high you will bounce when it does. In everyday life, resilience shows up in ways that don't always make the headlines, but are just as powerful. The single parent who works 2 jobs, yet still finds the energy to encourage their children, is resilient. The student who fails an exam but refuses to let it define their intelligence, instead studying harder for the next one, is resilient. The business owner who faces bankruptcy but rebuilds from scratch with new lessons learned, that's resilience. These people may not stand on a stage with medals or trophies, but they are winners in the truest sense because they refuse to let defeat have the last word. Psychologists often say that resilience is not about being unbreakable, but about being flexible, about bending without breaking. Like a tree in a storm, resilience allows you to sway under the pressure, to bend when the winds are strong, but to remain rooted and unshaken at the core. That inner strength is not built in moments of ease, it is built in moments of trial. It is built when you face something that should have destroyed you, but you kept moving anyway. We admire champions not just because they win, but because they come back after losses. Muhammad Ali lost fights, but his resilience made him step back in the ring. Serena Williams faced injuries, setbacks, and criticism, but her resilience kept her dominating for decades. The comeback story inspires us more than the easy victory, because it reminds us that resilience is within reach for all of us. The truth is, resilience doesn't guarantee that life will be easy. It doesn't guarantee that every effort will succeed. What it guarantees is that no matter how many times you are knocked down, you will not stay down. Resilience is the voice inside that whispers, "Try again." It is the determination that says, "This is not how my story ends." And when you live with resilience, you discover a strength within you that you never knew existed. Every winner you admire today, every champion who has achieved something remarkable, every leader who has changed history, before they held the trophy, before they stood on the stage, before they touched success, they had a vision. Vision is what fuels victory. Without vision, people drift. Without vision, effort is scattered, energy is wasted, and passion burns out. But when you have a clear vision, when you can see the destination in your mind, even before it becomes reality, that vision becomes the fuel that keeps you going through every obstacle, every setback, and every sacrifice along the way. Vision gives meaning to the struggle. When you wake up tired, when you face rejection, when you encounter failure after failure, vision is what whispers, "Keep going." This is not the end. It is vision that allows a runner to endure the pain in their legs during a marathon because they can already see themselves crossing the finish line. It is vision that allows a student to stay up late studying because they can already see themselves graduating, holding that diploma, making their family proud. It is vision that allows entrepreneurs to risk everything because they can already see the business they dream of building long before anyone else believes in it. Vision turns pain into purpose. Think about Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty, abused as a child, rejected in her early career. By all accounts, the odds were stacked against her. She could have let her environment define her future. But Oprah had a vision of something bigger. She saw herself speaking to the world. She saw herself creating impact, and that vision fueled her. It gave her the strength to push past rejection, the courage to take risks, and the persistence to build something extraordinary. Today, she is not only one of the most influential voices in media, but a symbol of what happens when vision guides your journey. Vision does not just push you through hard times, it also guides your decisions. Without vision, you don't know what to say yes to or what to say no to. You chase distractions, you pursue temporary pleasures, and you waste energy on things that don't align with your future. But when you have vision, you filter your choices through it. You ask, does this move me closer to where I'm going, or does it hold me back? That clarity is priceless. Vision acts like a compass. It doesn't remove the storms, but it keeps you from losing your way when the storms come. In history, visionaries have always been the ones who changed the world. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, a vision of equality and justice, that fueled him to march, to speak, to lead, even when threats and opposition surrounded him. That vision was so powerful that it outlived him and continues to inspire generations. Steve Jobs had a vision of technology that was not just functional but beautiful, personal, and accessible. That vision drove him through setbacks, rejections, and even being fired from the very company he founded, only to return and transform it into one of the most powerful brands in the world. Vision is bigger than obstacles, because vision gives you a reason to rise after every fall. Even in ordinary life, vision makes the difference. A parent who envisions a better future for their children will sacrifice today for tomorrow. A young person who envisions building a life of purpose will resist temptations that could derail them. A worker who envisions themselves as a leader will put in the extra effort that others ignore. Vision is not reserved for the famous or the wealthy. Vision is for anyone who dares to see beyond where they are and believe in where they can be. When you lack vision, the smallest setback can discourage you. But when your vision is clear, no amount of struggle can stop you. Vision pulls you forward even when your strength is gone. Vision keeps your head up when life tries to weigh you down. Vision is the picture of victory painted in your mind long before it exists in reality. And it is that picture that keeps you pressing forward when everything around you says quit. When people think about winning, they often picture the trophy, the applause, the medals, the money, or the recognition. They imagine the stage lights shining down, the cameras flashing, the crowd cheering. And yes, those things feel good in the moment. But here's the deeper truth: the greatest reward of winning is not the prize you hold in your hands, but the person you become in the process. The true reward is transformation. It is the growth, the strength, the wisdom, and the resilience you develop on the journey that matter far more than the applause that comes at the end. Because here's the reality: trophies collect dust, applause fades, records are broken, money can come and go, but who you become along the way is permanent. Every sacrifice you made, every challenge you overcame, every setback that tried to break you but didn't, that is the real reward. The reward is the confidence that comes from knowing you endured. The reward is the character that is forged in the fire of adversity. The reward is the inner strength that no one can take away from you, because you earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. Think about a student who works tirelessly for years to graduate. Yes, the diploma is valuable, but the real reward is not just the piece of paper. The real reward is the discipline they develop from late-night studying. It's the problem-solving skills they learned through challenges. It's the resilience they built when they failed a test and still got back up. That is what stays with them long after graduation day is over. The degree opens doors, but the character they built is what allows them to walk through those doors with confidence. Or think about an athlete who wins a championship. The medal or the ring may shine brightly on that day, but the true reward is the perseverance they built in training when no one was watching. It's the endurance they gained when their body wanted to quit, but their spirit said keep going. It's the unshakable mindset that was carved into them by every early morning, every sore muscle, every loss that taught them how to bounce back. That mindset becomes the real victory, because long after the crowd has gone home, that strength remains. Even in everyday life, the same principle applies. A parent working multiple jobs to provide for their children may not receive standing ovations or awards, but the real reward comes years later when those children grow up with opportunities that parent never had. The parent's sacrifice and resilience transform not only themselves, but an entire generation. That kind of victory is deeper than anything money or fame could buy. The journey to winning forces you to confront parts of yourself you didn't even know were there. You discover weaknesses you need to overcome, fears you need to face, and strengths you never knew you had. Along the way, you gain patience because you realize success doesn't come overnight. You gain humility because you understand that you can't do it alone. You gain courage because you learn to keep moving even when the outcome is uncertain. These are not things you can buy. They are not things someone can hand you. They are forged in the struggle, and they are the greatest reward of all. The true beauty of winning is that it changes not only you, but also those around you. When people see your journey, when they see how far you've come, when they see the battles you've fought and the person you've become, they are inspired to believe in their own ability to rise. Your victory becomes a spark that lights the fire in someone else. And that ripple effect, lifting others, inspiring others, empowering others, is a reward far greater than any title or prize. So when you think about winning, don't just focus on the destination. Focus on the transformation. The applause may last for a moment, but the growth, the strength, and the person you become will last a lifetime. The true reward is not the trophy in your hand, but the champion you become in your heart.